I break into hospitals and steal things for a living. Ask me anything. For work I get to break into hospitals and steal things. It's referred to as a physical penetration test. It's an integral part of risk assessment, which is required under 164.308(1) of HIPAA. I routinely pick locks, steal access badges, impersonate medical personnel, harvest data and credentials, crack passwords, and utilize various social engineering tactics. My official title is Information Security Consultant. I have a degree in Information Systems Management, as well as CCNA, Secretary Plus, and CISA certifications. Can you break into the safe? I wish. God, that thing is intriguing. I bet it's full of duck pics drawn in manuscript paint. What happens if you're caught? If you're found out, how do you convince them that you aren't a real thief? Any run-ins with police? Also, what happens to a hospital if you get away clean? I usually just name drop with SHIA or security officer, then they call to verify. Only one run-in with POPO, explained above. Nothing happens to the hospital when I find breaches. In fact, every hospital I've audited has gotten at least one breach. Because I'm their security partner, I'm not obligated to report to OCR. I just advise them on how to improve things. How did you get into this line of work? It doesn't seem to lead on from any normal career. I went to university for information systems management. I majored in security. For my senior project I wrote a business plan for a healthcare MSSP. I used that during my interview with an MSSP, and they apparently were impressed. I also learned a lot about HIPAA regulation during the assignment. Something that is rare in the workforce. I'm curious. Do you hum the theme to Mission Impossible while you're working? I probably would. Nope, but one day I got the Wizard of Oz theme song stuck in my head. That was a weird day. Have you ever had to perform the duties of the person you were impersonating? Never. It would be unethical and possibly dangerous for me to interfere with patient care. What is the deepest you've had to get into a character when you say that you impersonate medical personnel? I impersonate CNAs quite a bit. Just need a pair of scrubs and push around a wheelchair or laundry bin. Occasionally I will grab a lab coat if I'm in a physician office lounge area. Those guys usually know their coworkers though, so that is risky. Honestly, random mighty contractor works the best because it gets me access to systems and restricted areas. I'm the IT guy. Best way to get people to ignore you. Exactly this. Blurt a bunch of techno jargon at them. Tell them you need to get on their workstation or it will break. Blank stares and complacency damn near every time. Regarding social engineering tactics, is there a line you're not allowed to cross as far as manipulating staff for information? You have to outright lie to get anywhere, obviously, but I imagine your employer has rules regarding how badly you can play people. Honestly, not really. I outright lie every day, though it is not really malicious. Asking nicely and pretending to be a friendly vendor or something usually arouses less suspicion than acting all secret agent like. Has there ever been a time when you just can't get in? I was meeting with a financial advisor and he said call me so I can come down to greet you. Another employee came in and unlocked the door, and when I said I had an appointment upstairs he wouldn't let me in, even after I showed him the envelope of tax documents. Financial institutions are generally more secure due to the nature of the business. Hospitals are about helping people. Security often takes a backseat to patient care. I've always been able to find at least one breach of patient privacy. I'm not always able to get digital info due to tech controls like an IPS or comprehensive group policy. Sounds like a very interesting job. Most exciting hospital break-in attempt. There are a couple stories above, but here is one that got my blood pumping. I was searching a lady's unlocked office for keys and fi. While I was pocketing the keys and cell phone in her top drawer, I hear someone try to open the door. I locked it. When I began my search, she began knocking on the door and saying hello. I thought about hiding in the bathroom, but that would lead to an awkward conversation if she found me. I just stood there frozen. Eventually she walked away, presumably to have someone unlock her door. I took the keys and bolted down the nearest stairwell. Could your job ever result in the death or harm of a patient? For example, stealing something needed like an access badge from someone and they can't get in. To help in a dire situation? I suppose hypothetically yes. I always refrain from interfering with patient care, and I would never steal an access badge of critical staff like emergency or RICU. Also, I give badges back to the SHIO after I document the findings. Do people who get their badges stolen from you get in trouble? I try to keep the identity confidential. I will redact any PI in the documentation photos. I prefer to replace the badge if I can, but most often I have to give it back to the SHIO. The hospital isn't trying to throw one person under the bus. If it wasn't one individual, it will be another. The goal is to get organization-wide user training in security awareness. How do people not recognize you after repeated break-in attempts? I only assess each client annually. Also, we have several auditors. At what point do you reveal who you really are? Do you deflect being an imposter the first few times until you are really caught/in deep shut? Where is the line? Is there a safe word or something you use so that they know you are telling the truth this time and not just someone trying to impersonate an information security consultant? The line comes whenever the employee finally decides I'm not who I say I am. Generally I will keep pushing the lie until they call me out and go above me to verify. Your first successful lockpick. Please describe it. Tools used. 5-pin bump key. What type of lock? Don't remember model. Pretty standard lock you see on office doors. Time required. 30 seconds. Times failed. 4 or 5 bumps to catch the cylinder. The step you took after your success. Turned the bump key in the latch and opened the door. Clients prefer not to use conventional lockpicking tools as they can damage the locks. Based on your observations, what precautions should patients take to protect themselves? Ensure medical staff do not pull up your file on a monitor, then walk away without locking it, leaving charts in public areas, etc. It's hard for a patient to protect themselves. Most breaches occur without the patient's knowledge. File commonly gets leaked through email, lost thumb drives, break-ins, careless shredding policies. What does your family think of your job? It's pretty normal really. I travel a lot and usually have fun stories. They think it's interesting, but not too out of the ordinary, really. What other types of buildings require security checks of this nature? Are there companies that break into museums, banks, restaurants, hotels, etc.? I know financial institutions must adhere to PCI DSS compliance, which includes pen tests. My understanding is they are more concerned with technical security, as physical security is more inherent in a financial institution. Have you ever had to seduce someone to complete a heist? Unfortunately, I have not had to seduce anyone. I casually flirt with nurses sometimes, though that is mostly just to ease suspicion. How much money do you get paid? It must be enough to stop you from actually pocketing something valuable. I got paid a little over 50k, fresh out of school. How often do you do this? Do you do other things as well? I do 2 to 3 assessments a month. Physical is only one of 3 parts of an assessment. Technical review, vulnerability assessment, and policy review are the others. Policy can be very tedious, but that's where the money is. You said in the other thread that you got tased once. How did that happen? I was performing after hours assessment at a business center of a hospital. During the day I unlocked a first floor window. That night, at about 1:30 AM I snuck back in through the window. There was a bank next door and the security guard saw me and called the police. Police called hospital security. I was sitting at a workstation that was left unlocked when they entered. An overweight, overzealous security guard pointed the taser at me. I calmly said I had a reason to be there and reached in my jacket pocket for the business card of the hospital's chief of security. The guard lunged forward with the taser. It caught me under the forearm that was reaching in my jacket. It clenched so ferociously that I smacked myself in the face and cartwheeled out of the chair I was sitting in. It stung pretty good, but wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, maybe because I flinched so damn hard. He didn't fire the prongs, thank God. I just started yelling the chief of security's name over and over until he got the message. CSO was called. He was annoyed, even though he was aware the assessment was taking place. Neither party was in any trouble. The guard apologized, but kept saying he was just doing his job. Maybe I shouldn't have reached so fast, but I think he was over edger with the taser. Also, how bad did it hurt? Bad enough, but not as bad as I imagined it would. I think getting shot with the prongs is a different story. My friend stole a child-sized iron lung. What's the heaviest or most difficult thing you've stolen? A rack server was the heaviest thing I've ever taken. It was on the way to be decommissioned and was left in an unsecured area. How many times have you been unsuccessful? And if so, what do you think was the stupidest mistake you made? I've never been completely unsuccessful. I will always find at least one breach or successful attack vector. It's more of a trial and error approach rather than pass/fail. Stupidest mistake: when I was trying out a NTLM sniffer tool on the Raspberry Pi, I brought down a bunch of Meditech devices. A port scan effectively deuced them. It was stupid because I have never tried the tools before and therefore didn't know what kind of side effects they may cause. Luckily, patient care was not impacted. These machines are mostly used to print labels. What's your most creative heist? Nothing too crazy. The most interesting intrusion I've done was at night. I taped the lock of an emergency exit open during the day. Security failed to secure it during the after hours perimeter check because you have to walk through a garden to get to it. It leads to a stairwell. On the second floor is the executive suite. The company that installed the RFID locks cut corners. To put it bluntly, I was able to manually circumvent the lock and gain entry to the executive offices. I actually have a video of this hack. I will need to sanitize it though. I will post it in the morning. After bypassing the lock, I had access to workstations, login credentials, written on post-it notes, a big no-no, facility keys, access badges, and sensitive information. I take pictures of all these things and keep on keys or badges I find. On occasion I will take a laptop back to my hotel, boot it into Backtrack, and harvest info such as the SAM file. Next I install remote access software and a keylogger. Then I return the laptop, where I found it. While I'm in the executive suite, I also have access to their subnet of the network. If security controls are lacking, I can harvest credentials, perform vulnerability scans, as well as access network shares and sensitive info by plugging a Raspberry Pi device with custom software into the network. I usually hide this device and access it remotely later. Note: most clients do not like auditors plugging devices into their network. Vulnerability scans will commonly result inducing medical printing equipment, label makers, etc. Noisy hacking will generally cause havoc on a hospital network. This is why I try to enforce access control such as port security and 802.1x.